Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Christine Baumgartner and Barry Selby, and let's talk about dating. Hi, Barry. How are you today?
I'm good, Christine. I'm very well. We can have a fun topic to talk about today, especially as we're kicking off the new year and talking about new relationships and new dating. It's going to be fun today. So how are
I
you
think
doing?
so too. I'm really good. Really
Good.
good. Yep. Life is feeling much more on track again. I'm back to doing much more of my normal things, and that,
Yes.
I'm a routine kind of gal, so it makes me happy.
Yes. Things are definitely kind of like a brighter new year. I mean, although funny because we've been in LA and you're in Southern California too. The weather forecast is like 70s and 80s this next couple of weeks. I'm like, what?
I know it's January.
I know. Strange. Anyway,
I know. And the
should,
and the skies and the sunsets have been beautiful. I
yeah.
look out my window and see them, and then I get to see your beautiful pictures on Facebook because you get to take pictures at the beach. So, wow, that's even better.
Actually, no, that's actually, well, on the weekends I go to the beach. I ride my bike
Yeah.
down the bike path, but when I go to the hills, I get great views of the ocean, like across
Mm,
the lowland. So it's been interesting. The skies have been interesting. They've been good, but also like that's an interesting cloud pattern.
I know. And different color combinations and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
God's in charge of all that. He
of
paints
course,
beautiful sunsets.
quite the artist.
Since
Yes,
I've only seen a couple sunrises in my life, but I've seen a lot of sunsets. So I give him credit for those.
that's good. All right.
So, your dating style. Oh, I have just thought of so many different directions. I bet you have too,
Oh
because
yeah.
do you even know what your dating style is? I mean, really, we should just ask everybody that's watching and listening, do you have any idea what your dating style is? And
It might be better to say this way: what is your dating habit?
yes,
That
yeah.
might be more. But then you go, oh, ooh, yeah.
That's a good face too, because if you're happy with the results, then
Right.
keep doing it. And usually it's if people are single and not wanting to be single, it's because they're not happy with the results. So what could you do differently? But the
Right.
only way you can do something differently is to acknowledge, what are you doing now? And often we do it really unconsciously, which is why you would say, well, what is your habit? And they go, oh, I haven't really thought about it that way. But it isn't a helpful habit. It
Right.
isn't a productive habit. It's not going to move you forward to finding love, usually.
Yeah.
So, my favorite one has been, I don't go anywhere, I don't do anything, and I don't understand why I don't meet anybody.
Yeah, the thing basically you're going to sit in your house, and your true mate's going to come knock on your door and go, "Hello." Unless you're looking to date the UPS guy, it's probably not going to happen.
No, no. So, if that's your way, that you sit at home and binge on Netflix and hang out with your pet, you're probably not going to meet anybody. Or if you're going to sit at home, do something to meet somebody, in that you can do online dating or you can join a
Yeah.
meetup. So we'll talk about how to do that
Right.
and have it become your style or your habit. Because if you haven't ever done it, it just feels really scary.
And it's a different practice, so it isn't something you have in your. It's not your normal behavior. Like saying you like having your routine. It's that sense about where if you do something different, it's going to take a while for that to become a routine. So it is
Yeah.
take some practice. So it is about don't give up on the first try. It doesn't go the way you perfectly want. The understanding is that what you're doing is trying a new. It's like learning a new technique or a new exercise or a new way of doing things that you may never have done before, or at least not done well before. So give it a chance. Take some steps forward gently, and when you take a step back, go, oh, okay, tweak a little bit, step forward again, and
Yeah.
just try it out.
Because guaranteed, I tell everybody there's a definite money back guarantee. It's going to feel uncomfortable.
Right. Of
It's the way it
course.
is. So one of the exercises I have my clients do, so you and I can do it together, is cross your arms.
Oh yeah. Right.
So mine is my right arm, and yours your right arm that's on top. So now
This is my right arm. Yes.
make a point of putting your opposite arm on top.
Yeah. Exactly.
Really weird.
Right.
And you had to actually think about it. You're like, how do I put my other arm on top? And I tell people that's all it is. It's just it feels uncomfortable because it's new. That's
Exactly.
all.
Yeah.
It's not dangerous. It's not scary. It's not something that's going to harm you,
It's
because
different.
we have to pay attention to that. It's
Yeah.
just different. It's
Right.
just new.
So let's talk about some other dating styles and habits people have that they use besides the one about hybrid. What's the word? Being a hermit, hoping someone's going to knock on your cage to invite you out.
You mean those styles that aren't working? We should talk about those first, probably. Huh? Okay,
Yeah.
good idea. So go right ahead.
Well, one of them is basically, I would call it the if it moves, date it. or if they're breathing, date them. There's that thing about it's being basically having no criteria, except that it's somebody of the right gender for you, because obviously it doesn't matter which preference, gay or straight, doesn't make a difference. Same thing. But if anybody fits that criteria, and the criteria is extremely wide because it's just one thing, well, actually two things, right? Maybe three. They're standing up, they're breathing, and they're the right gender.
Yeah. No criteria. No boundaries. No.
You might be finding yourself having lots of opportunities, but no success because you're going to meet people who don't match, who don't fit, don't paradigm. Now, let me play one. This is one of the ones that I think is really subtle. It's another level because this is where it gets down to what I call the unconscious habits, the unconscious style. Because I've noticed for myself, I had a certain style that I would be very attracted. And this is something that I worked through because I got really clear about it. I would absolutely guaranteed every single woman I met who I was attracted to was married or in a relationship.
Wow.
And when I figured out after going through this, I was getting like, this is not going to work because I'm not going to break up marriages or relationships. I'm monogamous. I commit to that. It's my thing. So when I meet somebody I'm attracted to, but they're in a relationship, what I discovered what it was going on, and this is something you can take home because people have this same thing going on, is that if you're like me, you don't want to meet somebody who's needy or lonely or scared of being involved. So when I meet somebody who's in a relationship, who's happy in a relationship, we should qualify that, they're again married or in a relationship, I'm attracted to their comfort because they're being so fulfilled and happy. Now, they may be in a codependent relationship because they're being fulfilled and happy by their partner, but the same thing is they're exuding that in the energetic. So I'm attracted to that. So when I see a woman who's in a relationship, oftentimes she's looking very, fulfilled, ideally, fulfilled and happy and great. And that's attractive qualities. So now I've learned how to be clear about what that is. So when I notice a woman, I can feel intuitive now, is that from their own beingness or because of their partner? So that's less on the solution side. But that's one of the things that I know I had as a pattern of being attracted to women who were already in a relationship. Wasn't working.
No.
But
isn't it interesting, though, that it has now given you this great foundation to help women feel that way on their own? That's such a big part of your coaching.
It is. Practice. I know.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that out loud because it's true. It's what I do in my work. I mean, it's true for men too. We definitely need to have that ourselves because there are many men walking around who are very desperate, energy, and needy, which isn't healthy either. So for men, as much as it's for women, to really enjoy being who you are as you are when you're single makes you more attractive to meet somebody out in the world as well. So that's one of the solutions we will talk about later on as well.
Yes, because you and I know that is such a foundational piece. If you have to be happy on your own.
Yeah.
In order to find another person that's happy on their own, that's looking for a relationship.
Exactly.
That's a really good match.
Yeah.
So my pattern was they had to have a certain look. They had to be the jazzy, walk in a room and everybody noticed them, usually pretty tall, dark hair, that whole persona.
Yep.
I wouldn't look farther. I go, wow, I'm really attracted to them. But I didn't pay as much attention to the inside part. I would just pay attention more to the outside part. And then it turned out the inside part wasn't quite so well developed. And
often the case.
Wasn't even in the mood for a relationship. Yeah. And that didn't work for me. So I had to stop having that be my first line of attraction. Yeah. And then I think I've said more than once that my husband didn't look anything like that. My late husband couldn't have looked any differently. And yet his insides were that self-confident. People paid attention to him. People noticed him because of his insides. But if I had not switched the way I was looking at people, I would not have gone out with him because he didn't have the outside look. But in spades, he had all that stuff on the inside that I wanted. And then his outside became way more attractive to me. It was kind of fascinating how that happened.
Speaking of which, I want to add to that one, which is basically for many people I know, especially for those watching this, you might be clear you may have a type that you're attracted to. like you were saying about a certain guy walks in the room.
Yeah.
I always notice this, and it's funny, I've watched this true with some people I know, these are friends or people I know, not clients necessarily, but I've seen a guy I know vividly who had 3 relationships in the space of about 3 years. They were very deep relationships, then they were over in the next one, very back to back to back. But the women are almost interchangeable. They all look the same physical appearance, roughly the same height. The hair color was different sometimes, but it was the same style to approach a woman. And it was really, I think he was trying to call back to an old relationship he had when he was younger. This is maybe assumption, but it feels like he was trying to match something he had before that wouldn't be matched now. One of the challenges we face is when we have a relationship when we're young, especially, that was so amazing, but it ended up in heartbreak or wounding. We're going to keep trying to get back there by finding somebody who matches that criteria, or matches that look, or matches that feeling of that previous person. Again, not a type you want to do because you aren't the same person anymore.
No.
So it's good to start with a clean slate. And again, we'll get to the solutions in a minute. But definitely having an understanding that what is attracting you now, what is you're drawn to as a understanding, is that working for you or is it not working for you? Mm-hmm. If it's not, then stay tuned.
And along with that same line about old patterns is I find for me and for clients frequently, we're trying to repair a relationship with our parents. Yes. It wasn't a good relationship with your father or your mother, and you keep trying to find somebody that will love you differently, that you could love them differently, that it could feel more connected, better communication style. And I think that's a really good goal to heal that. Not necessarily in a romantic relationship, though, because it doesn't usually work. Because once you've healed that, then you won't be attracted to that hard part of that. Because that's what I hear, you like, oh, because I married the first time, the hardest parts of both of my parents, it wasn't even the good parts of them, because they had good parts, but I just married their hard parts with my first husband. Yeah, it was very difficult. And when I look back, I go, well, that's why. I thought, okay, I'm going to do this again. And I know it's going to work this time. And it just doesn't at all.
It is, oh boy. That's such a big one, because part of it is we're caught up in this, paradigm where we're trained to love based on what we were raised with in our families. This is the thing we talk about quite a lot in other talks, and I do in my coaching, is we've got to be willing to face the demon, so to speak, of that past love construction that we had with our parents. Mm-hmm. And I've talked about this. I posted a meme a few days ago about this thing about, we're busy trying to date people like our parents, because that's where the love we originally were raised with is the love we think is the real true thing. Yeah. And so anything we do that is either to match that or to oppose that, as in we're doing it at a reaction to that, isn't healthy, because we're still putting our energy back into our parents, not into ourselves, not into a partner. Mm-mm. So definitely that's something to work on outside relationship. Mm-hmm. Unless you're in a relationship with a therapist, in which case you shouldn't do it anyway, because it's not their job when they're in a relationship with you.
No. Which is why they have that rule.
Yes, indeed.
So the other thing I hear a lot is, I know I'm broken, and I want to find somebody that's going to love me even in spite of my broken pieces and help me put back my broken pieces. And yes, I agree that oftentimes we meet somebody that has a wound, and maybe we have a similar wound or different, and we have really good tools to be there for the other person. It can't be all of us broken. You have to have really done a lot of work, or it might be that you've done all this work and then this new thing pops up and you're like, oh, I didn't realize there was this still unhealed, wounded part of me that shows up. What John Gray talks about is the more relaxed and comfortable you get in a relationship, the more that stuff that needs to get healed might come up again. Mm-hmm. So the stuff, we all are aware of our old shit. So work on that before you go get in a relationship. And then if something old comes up newly, then it might be that you have an opportunity to heal this in a relationship, maybe with a counselor or a coach, or just together. But it can't be all of you broken. I mean, I hear this, my pieces are all over the floor. No, that's too much to ask of another person. I think that's unfair.
Yeah. Although it's funny, strangely romantic somehow.
Yeah.
Something like, oh, they love me despite my issues. I'm like, no. Get over it.
I don't think I want somebody that's attracted to my issues.
I'd rather be alone, frankly. I'm alone for that reason. I'm not willing to be in a relationship with somebody who's bringing all their baggage with them. It's like, do your own work. I've done my work. I'm still working on it. And now qualify that. If you've both done a lot of work and you're still healing, but you're so clear about how it's your own stuff, not theirs.
Yes.
Then you have a healthy relationship, because the trap is that codependency stuff I've talked about many times too. We've talked about that you feel like that now you're in a relationship, it's all shared stuff. Like you said, parts, pieces all over the floor. Like, no, don't do that.
No.
But the other part I would say is that a counterpoint to that is where opposites attract. And in this sense, what I mean is where you have what I've been told, or the term I learned when I was in my grad school, was they're called dovetailing patterns. So simply put, is like, if you're a person who maybe when you're being raised by your parents, they were never around and you felt like you were abandoned. So as an adult, you attract partners that continue to abandon you. So basically, you have an issue or a pattern or a program that is about abandonment. So you've got to find people who will abandon you to keep reciprocating that pattern. Mm-hmm. And so, again, this is based on the fact that you don't want to keep doing this, because abandonment is not one thing you want to keep doing. Or it could be addiction. It could be abuse, even, because that happens a lot in relationships. I've talked about this before in my work, how a relationship is a hereditarily passed along pattern by behavior, not by genetics. So it's learned behavior by watching when we're in a place where we're too young to understand the difference, and we then take that on to our own lives. That's a whole other piece I'm not going to unpack right now, because that's a whole different conversation. But understanding that the patterns we bring forward, which again could be anything from abandonment to, it could even just be like passive aggressive behaviors, is that you meet somebody who reciprocates the pattern, so you fit together like a key in a lock. And if that's not working for you, which 9 times out of 10 it's not, it's time to change it so you don't have that lock anymore for that key to fit into.
Right. That's what I said with my first husband. It was like we were two half a people, and I thought we'd make a whole person together, and we were still just two half a people in a marriage. Yeah. So one of the things that's really difficult, I think, is to go, well, what is my pattern and why isn't it working? And you're like, ew, what kind of a person is that? And what's wrong with me? And does that mean I'm completely broken? And no, what it means is you're being introspective and you're ready to grow up that part of you, because often it's a very immature part of us, even though chronologically we've gotten older, that this immature part of you that's stuck thinking this is all I could have, or this is the only way I can act, or it's just made us too afraid to put ourselves out there again. Or some of the reasons that people don't put themselves out there is they've had bad experiences. And then they think, I don't know how to do it any other way. So that's when I say good. This is good to know that. And this is really when you put a hold on dating, and then let's get you ready to date. Because some people are much more ready to date than others. And the people that aren't, it's really important to get ready. And part of getting ready is looking at what hasn't worked in the past and why hasn't it? And not ever to give yourself a hard time, because we can't go in a time machine to go back. And to look at the other thing that I think people forget to look at is, well, why did you do it that way? There was a really good reason. Because often, as my friend Roberta Shaler calls the giants that raised us, we were dependent on them for food and shelter and clothing. So whatever they said often had to go. And you do get stifled in the way you think and stifled in the way you behave, and you don't feel like you're being appreciated, and you feel like you get broken or underdeveloped. Well, you couldn't have done it any different. You needed to have food and clothing and shelter.
Absolutely.
And now that you're an adult, you can say, do I want to think differently? Do I want to act differently? Do I want to believe about myself differently? And so never to give yourself a hard time, because this way you don't spend any of that energy that you'd like to spend growing and healing on beating yourself up, because it's not helpful at all.
No. And there's one thing I say to cover jump in on, because you said at the beginning about how you may be afraid to date because of all those things that are coming up for your life. The counterpoint to that is some people would date to avoid that sort of stuff. So just to be clear, we're not saying that dating is a solution. We're saying dating from a place of awareness. And speaking of awareness, one of the parts of this process, and what we both do with the clients, is to make the unconscious conscious. I said about the first step towards healing is awareness. Not just like, oh, ta-da, I'm aware. It's like, no, what is it you've been doing yourself in your dating experience or your relationships or avoiding your relationships that keeps showing up? Make that conscious so you can start doing something to change it. Because all the stuff we talked about since the beginning of the show, are habits that most people want to change to something better. So until you're aware of it, you can't change it. So bring the unconscious conscious, so you can go, oh, I'm doing this. Let me change that.
Because that's the first step. Oh, what am I doing that isn't working?
Yes.
You don't have to know what works. We are happy to help you get to that part. If you go, oh, something's not working. My father used to say because I love putting things together, I like tools, that if it wasn't going together smoothly, stop and start over again. Because generally they made it so that it would go together smoothly. So if it's not happening smoothly, if you're not getting outcomes that you want, then go, oh, it's not going smoothly. I must need to learn how to do something differently. Oh, it's okay. And then come to one of us and we'll help you figure out what it is that's not working and then what to do differently.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's so many people want to stay unaware and unconscious because it feels safer. Okay. Until you get unhappy enough, until you get fed up with what is happening or what isn't happening. That's always the magic words for me to hear. I've had it with who's showing up or who isn't showing up or not having a relationship or not going out or getting exhausted going out on all these wrong dates. So helpful when somebody says, and what do you think I should do about it? That's the place to start.
When you make the invitation, we can help.
Yes.
For you. Yeah.
Don't you get where, oh, you need to talk to my friend. My friend is beautiful and they, everybody should like them and they just keep not having dates or they have all the wrong dates and they should talk to you. And I go, well, do they think they have a problem? No, I can't help.
I've been in that situation a few times. My friends trying to set me up with their partners. Like, I know there's issues there. I'm not going to do that for you.
No,
and one of the terms I use a lot of times with my experience and with clients too, is like when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, then you'd be willing to change.
I like that one a lot too. And you have to get sick and tired enough.
Yes. And that's the thing. All we're talking about here is when you've reached the end of that tether, we say, like, enough, I don't want to keep doing this anymore. This is what this is about. Because for some people, they're still happily going along doing that thing that doesn't work because they don't think it doesn't work.
No, it's all the other people. All the other people.
Absolutely.
It's COVID. It's the other person's attitude. It's their upbringing. And they don't think that they have anything to do with it. And I really get that they think that means they're a bad person if they acknowledge that or they're broken. And it's none of that. It's growing up. It's anything that you need more education about. Like I still learn stuff about my phone. Now it's got this new reminder thing that pops up. Would you like to learn this? I didn't even know it was this to learn. Who knew there was this to learn on my phone? And I decide yes or no if I want to learn it. Because sometimes I go, I don't even want to know that. But I didn't know there was that to learn. So that's what this is all about, that you just need to say, I don't like this continued result or lack of result. I really want it to be different. That we can help you bring up, well, these are other ways to look at it and other ways to approach it and other ways to think about it and other ways to manage yourself. Because we are the only people we can do something about. All those other people out there that aren't cooperating and aren't falling in love with you or aren't asking you out or aren't writing back, you and I can do nothing about it. It's you. We can do something about you. So when you finally say, okay, I want to learn something differently, I want to do something differently, that's the magic words. The doors will fly open. It might not be ta-da, which I love that word. It is the first step, though. It's the first step is acknowledging, I don't know what else to do. I'm stuck. I really want different. I really want something different to start happening.
It's huge.
Grown up and mature and brave, really brave, because look at all the people who don't do that.
Absolutely. In fact, I was going to say one quick thing, and we're going to go on break in a second, is to emphasize what you said at the beginning of that piece, is it really comes down to the fact is that some people feel like if they admit any sort of flaw or fault, their perfection's shattered.
Yes.
And the reality is that, well, first of all, as humans, we're perfect anyway on a spiritual level. That's one of my credos with my clients, as is so is worthiness too. They're built in. They're not something about your bank account or who you're dating or any of that stuff. So to recognize that you want to change something in your behavior so your dates are more successful is a constructive, not a destructive approach. So recognize that what we're talking about here is improving your life and helping you become more and more joyful and joy-filled so that your life becomes more rewarding.
Yes.
So let's keep that in mind, shall we?
Yes. You're just going to be more of you.
Yes.
More of who you are. Yes. We're not tearing down. We're not being negative. So, oh my gosh, we have so much more to talk about because we're going to get to some solutions. But first, we're going on break.
See you in a bit.
Okay. Fun commercials coming up.
Okay.
And we're back. I like those commercials and I like the music. It's very uplifting and
It
jazz.
is. Although
I
still want
to see our cute faces.
I still want to see our pictures bigger though, because everyone else has got these big pictures with their little writing. I'm like, hey, we're small people with big writing.
I know. What's wrong with that? We'll have to talk to Miss DC about that, huh?
Yeah, we'll talk to the boss.
We'll put that in the suggestion box. So we're talking about dating styles, and first, if you could figure out what yours is, or just figure out that it's not working, that's certainly a big, huge roadblock to lots of people to just go, do I know it's not working? Yeah, I think it's not working. So what could you do about it when you think you know what your dating style is and it's not working?
Well, first of all, congratulations, because you're not running autopilot. You're going, whoa, something's wrong here. And again, as you said, if it's either just you're aware something's wrong or you know what it is that's wrong, those are good steps. The next thing, of course, is getting support from somebody who understands this stuff, like either one of us, that can really start shining a light on what it is that's not working and the keys and steps to move beyond it. So, for example, when I was speaking to earlier about the dovetailing patterns that people have, where you find attracted to the same sort of person every single time. And by the way, little PS on that one. You may have noticed that people don't walk along with signs on their forehead saying, I give you this pattern. But somehow we have a very good gift of attracting people like that who doesn't look anything like the last person you were with, because we're wired on a level to pick up things on a very sensitive level. So I'm not going to get too woo-woo on this, but I recognize that we have this radar that picks up people. It's almost like we are radar for a certain frequency, and people will fit that frequency who bring the same pattern to us that we need every single time. So first of all, you'll know when you fixed it, because that won't happen anymore. But secondly, the biggest part is to start figuring out, and when you're working with somebody like myself or with Christine, is to really start seeing what that pattern is about. Meaning that you have an abandonment pattern. Okay, so where's it come from and why do you keep doing it? It may be because you have an association, which most people have, between that pattern, because it came from their parents, and the way their parents loved them. Again, that's all tied together, mixed up together, and mishmashed and everything else. So in my work, a lot of times it's untangling and detangling all those patterns so you can start letting them go. Because the love you want to have and keep, especially love for your parents, but also the love you have inside yourself, becomes free of the attachments to patterns and hooks that go out there and attract people of a certain style that don't work for you anymore. That's the Cliff Notes version of what I do.
Yes. And it was my personal experience, and what led me to coaching is exactly that, where I said, gosh, central casting keeps sending the same person. You know, they look different, they dress different, they sound different, but they have the same traits over and over and over.
Yep.
I wonder if it has to do with me. So that was my personal journey 15 years ago, before I met my late husband and started being a coach and helping people go, oh, maybe it's me. Because when you do that, as you said, you go, oh, I now have power to do something about this. It is, you think you're going to feel weak, broken, and that there's something wrong. But I have found, for me personally, and I watch this happen for my clients, and I know you do too. You're like, oh, I feel so empowered. I feel like I have strength. I feel like I can now build a good foundation underneath the way that I approach dating and relationships and ultimately love.
Yeah.
Because what we find is we're building our house on sand, which isn't giving you a great foundation. And you're having all these great accessories, you know, the furniture looks cool and the drapery.
Like...
Yes. Yes. So we do some excavating, which is what you were talking about with all the untangling and detangling, so that you now are pouring this very wonderful, firm foundation to stand on. And what I always say, you know, for my female clients, in your Wonder Woman boots, so that you know that you're going to start attracting and making really good decisions. And what you find, and I know you do too with your clients, is just in their interactions daily with strangers, or even just the interactions with casual people in their life, you know, not a romantic person, they start feeling better about the interactions. They're speaking up about what they need and want. They're not putting up with people that don't treat them properly. It's sort of like Tai Chi. They kind of go by, you know, they'll still come because they're out there, but then they just move on by. And the more it happens, the more strong you feel. And the more you're like, oh, I think I might try this even more. Because as I said, it feels different and scary in the beginning. It just does. And once you've practiced it for a while and that becomes a habit, you're like, oh, I could keep doing this. This is great.
It's true. And one of the side effects of that, by the way, is you get healthy boundaries.
Yeah. Because
the thing is, when it's talk about those dovetailing patterns, is like somebody brought that pattern into your life before, they go straight through your boundaries, like just like knock it down without any care in the world, because the patterns win out. They're what's in charge. When you're no longer running that pattern, and you do have that autonomy and self-support, and you start loving who you are and enjoying yourself, that pattern has no way in anymore.
I know. Isn't it amazing? I was amazed when I saw that for myself. And my clients are just equally. I knew you've been down this road too, where you're like, I don't do that anymore. Wow, that is so cool. It's so worth the energy and effort and work it takes to do this internal work, that you are now going to stop being a magnet for that. It's amazing.
And that's the thing. It's not like, you know, I'm declaring I'm not going to be a magnet for that anymore, because that doesn't work on the mental level.
No.
You discover a period of time like, oh, I'm not a magnet for that.
Yeah.
It's the awareness going, and the surprise that's kind of elating in a way to say, oh, look, I don't draw that in anymore. That's the good news.
How many times have you heard, they go, okay, I don't want that to happen anymore. I go, that's good. And what are you going to do about it? I'm just going to decide. Okay. And how are you going to do that? Okay, just tell me the tools that you're going to use. I'm really curious. And they have none. I go, oh, well, that's why they have 412 different screwdrivers at Home Depot, because there's particular screwdrivers that we use for your particular circumstance, the things that you want to undo, the things that you want to do differently now. And if you don't know, if you stand at that wall going, I have no idea which one do I need a flathead? Do I need a big one? Do I need a small one? And sometimes people can figure out some of it on their own. I'm sad about the battles and bruises and hurts that they feel that happen to them when they do it on their own. It's unnecessary. I want to tell them a secret. It's unnecessary to do it the hard way. You don't have to do it the hard way. I mean, really, But
Right.
doing it yourself is the hard way. We've done it ourselves. We know it's the hard way.
Well, I'm actually going to say that I, in fact, didn't do it on my own.
Yeah.
I went through 2 years of a master's degree. I went through
Yeah.
years and years of training and
Yeah.
counseling to get there. So
Yeah.
I got help through different ways and through working
Yeah.
with coaches and counselors too. So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that we've been there.
Yeah. We know. We know
Right.
it's a lot of work. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. All the therapy and classes and stuff I've done. Oh, Sammy's coming to say hello.
Oh, hi, Sammy.
Hello. Yes, Sammy's up here. There he is. Hello, Sammy. So, yeah. So deciding that there's a problem, that it's not working for you is the first step. And then deciding what kind of help would you allow to come and be in your life. Do you want to take a class? Do you want to get to therapy? Do you want to have a coach? Please don't do it on your own.
Right.
It's too much to do on your own. And the other thing I say is, I want you to have single friends, both men and women. I want you to have single friends. I just don't want you taking dating advice from them because they're really good at staying single. You know?
Very good point. Very good point.
Because it's usually who we talk to and who we get advice from. And it's not always helpful. And it's not very personal at all because you're going to hear what they think works or doesn't work for them. It's not necessarily what's going to work for you. Where when you go to somebody that this is our job is to work on you personally and find personal solutions for you. I think that's really essential. So, have your friends, go play with your friends. Just don't take dating advice, okay?
In fact, I would add another piece to that, which is when you start doing work with somebody like one of us or through classes, groups, trainings, whatever that is, I don't think just me, I think that's for all of us, is that friendship level changes too.
Yeah.
Not just our dating partners and relationship partners, but our friendships change too. I've been through, I don't want to say levels, but I've certainly been through groups of friends that no longer function for the way I function because they were players or they would, I mean, I remember back in the 80s, I would hang out with these friends that I was working with and we go drinking all the time, but they started doing cocaine. This is back in the early 80s. And I wasn't interested. I found myself drifting away from that friendship so quickly. Now that's one format, but the truth is when you're doing the growth journey, when you're participating in your own transformational experience in growth, whether it's through coaching, counseling, group work, whatever, seminars, whatever, instead of done all of them, then you recognize that the quality of relationships you have in your social circle changes as well as your romantic circles.
Very much. And what I found is I'm a big meetup joiner, and I belong to a number of meetups in past years. And there was one where I liked the leader, this woman, and it was a women's group, and we went to the Getty, and we did all these really fun things. But the women in that group, except for the leader, they were mad at men. Oh my! And for really good reasons. I mean, one of them had left him her husband left her for a man, and didn't tell her ahead of time. And I mean, it was really sad and hard. But I could not sit there and listen to how horrible men were all the time because I've never felt that way. So it made me leave that group because I tried a couple times. I mean, everybody asks you, what do you do? Everybody goes around and then they have all these questions, but they were not interested in hearing that maybe you could think differently about them or have different kinds of men in your life. And so, I have found that I've had to move on from some friendships that I liked for a lot of reasons, but it was just too hard as I got more involved in what I was teaching and learning and experiencing with my clients.
That's the biggest thing. And being for me, being on the dating apps is another thing, is that being single it's interesting when people connect and when I meet a woman and we start talking, if I know what to do, I'm like, I will not let them ask me questions about how to do things because that's my business. It's like, you wouldn't go to somebody who's a photographer, because I used to be a photographer too, and ask them to take pictures for you without paying for them.
Yeah.
So if you want to do that, take out your phone, do it yourself. But if you wanted to get some guidance, invest in it. That's the thing that's talked about with clients. It's like people go, I spend money on coaching or spend money in programs. It's like, you're not spending money on the programs or the coach. You're investing your own time and your own money to get what you want from the coach.
And it's precious time and precious money.
For both people,
So
both the coach and you. Yeah.
Yes. And we value our expertise too. I know my brother-in-law is a dentist and he's constantly, he goes to social things. You're like, I haven't been to the dentist in so long, but you look at my thing. And he goes, no.
Right.
This is my off time. I might be happy to have you come to my office. Because we all think he's wonderful and nobody's afraid of him, because that's often why people don't go.
Right.
And that's the same with us, that, gosh, I'd love to talk to you. Please, let's set up a time so I can give you my undivided attention and we can really dig into this. And I can feel, I don't know if we're a match. That's why I tell people that our initial conversations are like a first date. And sometimes we don't want to work with them and sometimes they don't want to work with us. But how would you know until you have this first meeting, until you have this first conversation with each other to see if they really are receptive and ready and you're the kind of person that they could work with? That's
Absolutely.
how you need to approach it every time. And it can't just be this slipshod. It's not honoring for either person. But it's a good point to bring up, because haven't we all experienced that?
Indeed. And of course, at the end of this call, we'll be sharing, the end of the show, we'll be sharing how you can get in touch with us. And we're doing both offer our own consultation, gifted complimentary coaching, not coaching, but consult, so we can talk about these things. So that's why we both do that, because we do want to know that not only is the client going to work with us, but do we want to work with the client?
So one of the solutions that we've touched on that we could make a bigger point about is first acknowledging something's not working. You're not happy with what's happening or not happening. And you want to do something differently. So some of the things you could do differently are talk to somebody professionally like us.
Yes.
Or start writing out what's not working and look at what's your part. What's your part in it? Is it that you're expecting somebody to fix you? Is it that they remind you of your parents? Is it that mine was that they made all this money and weren't keeping any of it? And that made me concerned about a future relationship with somebody who wasn't as conscious about how they were spending and saving their money. That wasn't going to work for me, even though they kept showing up. Central Casting kept sending them over and over. And what did that have to do with me? And it did take therapy. I didn't figure that out on my own at all.
Mm-hmm.
So to look at what's your part, what could possibly be your part. And if you're really stumped, that's when it's important to involve another person, because we can see through that, partly because we've been through it and partly because we've talked to so many people that have been down such a similar road. Isn't it nice to know, first, you really want to hire somebody that has gotten to where you want to be, had successful relationships, been on this path for a long time, have lots and lots of tools and knowledge that this hasn't been your area of study as our clients. So how would they know all the things that we know? And to come to us so that we could say, oh, I've seen this and this is what we've done about it. And what do you think? Do you think that seems appealing to you? Because that's such a gift for them to give themselves, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. That's the other part about when you see a coach, particularly in our experiences, we've had so much experience, both in life experience, but also in our studies and journey ourselves, that you're working with us is not just about 1 hour at a time. It's taking all of our stuff to give it to you in that focus. And one of the things I speak to is recognizing, and it's funny because I have an online course for women called Attract the Man You Want. It's an eight module program. And the first module is to make a list of what doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So you talk about that, about writing down what didn't work and why it doesn't work and why you're not interested in how they hurt you and how they didn't do those things. You got to start somewhere. And sometimes the best place to start is what's right in front of you, which is what didn't work.
Yes.
And then from that point of view, in my work, what I do immediately is you basically flip the script. So I don't mean changing your history. What I'm saying is that if you say that all these things that don't work is on a list, you then make a list on the other side of the page, which is the positive reframe. Mm-hmm. So again, for example, if they're talking about the abandonment one, if somebody always abandoned you in your past relationships, you're fed up doing that, write down what you'd rather have is someone who's loyal to you or present to you or always with you, whatever works for you. And so basically what you start doing is you start rewriting the script. Now, that's, again, step one of a long journey with my work. Yes. But if you start doing that alone, it will start to change your trajectory.
Yes.
But also change your focus. So as you said, it's like, your experience out in the world will change. Well, if you start changing your inner story, which is what we're talking about here, by changing your inner, I'm trying to remember the way I said it in the master room, was inner reality, outer experience is a reflection of inner reality. Yes. That's what I'm trying to say.
Always.
So understanding that what you're doing by changing your internal reality here is outside experience will start shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have an immediate feedback system, which is really wonderful.
It's immediate. Now that's a ta-da. It is. And people are surprised how immediate it is.
Right.
It feels like such a long road, and it takes a little bit to get to that switch. You make that switch.
Yep.
And when you do, the outside world will immediately reflect it. It is beyond exciting and rewarding.
This is the wonderful place we live. Yes.
I'm going to hold the belief for you. You don't even have to believe this is going to work. That's not a requirement for coaching at all. People think that it is, and I go, no, not at all. You have to believe that I believe. Can you do that? If you're paying me money, you must believe I know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
So I'm going to believe this is what's going to happen. Just hang in there. And then they go, oh, it happened. I go, I know. Isn't it fun?
I love that experience. It's really fun. It's fun, but it's also rewarding because it goes, see, this proves it works every single time.
Every time. I mean, truly, if people really are ready, willing, and able, I mean, they have to have those three things, ready, willing, and able to do this work. It is monumental, exponential what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. This is good stuff.
It's what gets us up every day. Don't you feel that way?
Oh, yeah. That's why we keep doing the show. We love talking about this stuff.
I know. And there's so much to talk about all the time. And now Cece's telling us we have to stop again.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I know. It's so disappointing when we have to stop. But isn't it nice? We always are enjoying it so much.
I'm also glad that we can share this so people can hear it. I mean, I love sharing with my email list and we should be able to share it online. So I trust that our message, our teachings, our inspiration reaches ears that want to hear it.
Yes. And ears that we would never have reached any other way. That's one of the best parts. We're so grateful that Cece does this for us.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Props to the boss.
Yes, the boss is the bomb. So, okay. We talked earlier about that you can have a conversation with each one of us, and the way to get a hold of me is through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. Click on what's holding you back from love, and we'll have a private personal conversation about what's not working and maybe what could be working better and what we could do together to get you on the right road to finding love. You could send a personal email to me to Christine@theperfectcatch.com. You can also reach me on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram, and to watch the podcasts that Barry and I do. And I have also a few that I did on my own that I didn't like doing them on my own. I love so much better doing them with you, Barry.
Thank you.
On my website. And Barry, please tell people how to get a hold of you.
Certainly. So my name is my website, so barryselby.com. And on my site, on the navigation bar, is a little link that says Let's Chat. And basically, you click on that and we'll chat. It's basically a schedule. You get on my calendar. We schedule a 30-minute conversation. That's a gift from me to you to really see where you are and if I can help you navigate where you want to go. And if we want to work together, because I'm very clear about being picky about my clients too. So it's not just you saying you work with me. Sorry, it's a two-way street.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the rest of my website has a bunch of stuff, my books on there, my coaching offerings, my online courses, everything else is on my website, which is barryselby.com. You can email me at barry@barryselby.com. Easy to find me. And on social media, YouTube especially, I recommend highly checking my YouTube channel, which is Barry Selby, because I have over 1,000 Facebook Live talks recorded there, plus a bunch of talks about codependency and a lot more stuff. So you can check out more videos I've done with friends and on my own over the last 4 or 5 years, which will be useful to you. And on Facebook, you can go to my business page, which is barryselby.author, and on Instagram, which is, to be honest, my Instagram page pretty much reflects my Facebook page, so they're not much different. But if you want to go there, it's the real Barry Selby, and that's how you can find me.
And they can sign up for all your notifications, so they'll get to see your coaching, your walking, your baking.
I know, it's a smorgasbord, no pun intended.
You're a Renaissance man. You have all this diversity in your life, and I have cat hair on my nose.
I was wondering what's going on.
I know. So he came and sat down and poofed his hair all over.
One of the gifts of a cat.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I hope that people really have learned a lot about maybe about what their style is and why it's not working, and how they could have a better style of dating that will help them find love and a partner again.
Absolutely. I'm glad we could be here to talk about this. And hopefully somebody out there is getting this and going, oh, I can change.
Yeah, because I think so often they do feel stuck. And I'm hoping that in all of our conversations, they're hearing, Nobody's set in cement. You're not stuck at all. I know you can feel stuck, but we want you to hear you're so not stuck. You could
Right.
really do something about this and have a much better outcome.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So till next week.
Yep. See you on Thursday.
Same time, same bat channel.
Same bat time, same bat channel. Bye for now.
Bye.